picture the scenario, right? Because I know you have been here. It is 6:03 a.m. You are lying in bed. The room is completely dark, and the only light is that harsh blue glow of your phone illuminating your face.
Oh, it's the worst kind of light.
Literally the worst. And you open your notes app, or, maybe your perfectly structured Notion template, and you type, woke up early, meditated for 10 minutes, grateful for my health.
Right.
And then you meticulously check off that little box next to your water intake. And as you do it, you feel this subtle wave of relief. It is not peace exactly. It's not joy. It is just the relief of baptizing the day in productivity before your feet have even touched the floor.
It's getting ahead of the guilt.
Exactly. And by 7:15 a.m., there is an Instagram flat lay, you know the exact one. The journal is angled just right next to a ceramic mug, maybe a sprig of eucalyptus catching that soft morning light.
Of course, the eucalyptus is mandatory.
Mandatory. And the caption is something like, small wins compound, #morning routine, 37 likes roll in. You feel seen. You feel incredibly valid.
But see, here's the quiet voice that hits you before noon. What about the 3 separate times you check your phone between 3 and 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
What about the throat-tightening panic you felt over your bank balance just yesterday? What about the fact that you didn't actually meditate to find presence, but just to, silence the absolute noise in your head long enough to function at your job?
Oof. Yeah, that hits a little too close to home.
Right. Because we are living in the era of the curated interior. We've become these obsessive archivists of the self we are supposed to be, while systematically deleting the self we actually are.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for this deep dive, we are looking at a massive stack of sources. We've got contemporary psychoanalytic research, deep critiques on the modern wellness industry, and a slew of articles breaking down the psychology of our obsession with productivity.
It's a heavy stack.
It is. And our mission today is to essentially take a scroll through your own subconscious. We want to figure out why our most private sanctuary, the journal, the diary, the notes app, has morphed into this beautifully designed cage.
A very aesthetic cage, but a cage nonetheless.
Right. And why our relentless healing journeys might actually be the very thing making us so unbelievably exhausted.
Well, to understand why that journal feels like a cage, we have to look at the language we force ourselves to speak when we are inside it.
The vocabulary of it all.
Exactly. One of the sociology papers in our stack describes this as the financialization of the self.
The financialization of the self. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the traditional journal used to be a purely confessional space, right? It was messy, it was unhinged, it was for your eyes only.
Just absolute teenage angst scribbled in a notebook.
Yes. But today, the Success Journal, or the Notion template, operates as a performance venue. The human psyche is suddenly being treated exactly like a tech startup.
Wait, like a startup? How so?
It has to be scalable, has to be optimized, and it must be in a state of perpetual measurable growth.
Oh man, you see it everywhere. Like, journaling talk is a massive aesthetic. It is all golden hour light, fountain pens gliding over dotted paper, those ASMR adjacent videos narrating perfect healing journeys.
Right, the scratching of the pen.
Exactly, but they never show the crumpled pages. You never see the entry that just says, I hate everyone today and I want to disappear, scratched out in furious black ink.
No, because the aesthetic demands absolute coherence, but our actual psyche delivers nothing but contradiction.
So we just edit out the contradictions.
Precisely. The vocabulary of Silicon Valley has colonized our inner lives to maintain that coherence.
Yeah.
We don't write about feeling profound sadness anymore.
Right, we say we are processing emotions.
Yes. We don't admit defeat or failure. We gather data from setbacks.
Oh my God, I say that.
We all do. We don't allow ourselves to experience existential dread. Instead, we reframe it as a moment of recalibration.
Okay, I have to push back here though, because I do this constantly. When I write, I gather data from this setback. It genuinely stops me from spiraling into a pit of despair. So isn't that a good thing? I mean, we read plenty of articles in our sources supporting positive reframing. Why is putting a productive spin on a bad day considered toxic?
It stops the spiral, yes, but it also functions as an intellectual bypass.
An intellectual bypass? Meaning what?
The mechanism at play here is linguistic limitation. If you immediately reframe a failure as gathering data, you bypass the actual somatic experience of grief or disappointment or anger.
You don't actually feel the sting of it.
Exactly. Your apps and your bullet journal templates, they have no categories for the specific sinking shame of an unoptimized life.
There's no checkbox for, I feel like a total fraud today.
Right. And because those messy feelings become linguistically impossible in the framework of a growth mindset, they don't get processed. They just go underground.
They sink into the unconscious.
Yes. Not because they are too dark to face, but because the tools you've built to face them only accept light.
So I am essentially acting like a project manager for my own lagging KPIs.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Instead of feeling the disappointment, I am just tracking it on a spreadsheet. In fact, looking through our notes, I realized how much massive heavy lifting the word but does in modern journaling.
Oh, the all-powerful but.
Right, like, I felt completely anxious today, but I used my breathing technique.
It is a grammatical sleight of hand.
Exactly. The wound isn't being examined at all, it's just being bandaged with a productivity hack.
Which leads to the obvious question, right? If we were all performing like diligent little project managers, who exactly is the boss we are reporting to?
Who's demanding all these daily deliverables?
Right. In classical psychoanalysis, that boss is the superego. It's the internalized voice of conscience and societal expectation.
The inner critic.
Yeah, but back in the Victorian era, the superego was rigid and moralistic. It yelled, "You are sinful, you are forbidden."
Very fire and brimstone.
Exactly. But today, as several of our wellness critiques point out, the superego has undergone a massive rebranding campaign.
A rebrand?
Yes.
Wow.
It no longer tells you that you are sinful. It whispers, "You are not optimized."
Wow. It's like a life coach from hell.
That's exactly what it is. Eternally cheerful, but eternally demanding.
So what are the rules of this new superego?
Its new commandments are entirely tailored for the digital age. Thou shalt not scroll mindlessly when you could be listening to an educational deep dive.
Hey, wait, present company excluded, obviously.
Obviously. Thou shalt not rest when you could be grinding. Thou shalt not feel envy when you could be manifesting abundance.
And the daily journaling ritual is basically the ultimate reporting mechanism for this tyrant.
Yes. You check off 5 gratitude items, 1 affirmation, boundaries maintained.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate again with our own source material here.
Go for it.
We have a robust stack of positive psychology research in front of us. One of the studies literally proves that writing down 5 things you're grateful for before bed objectively lowers cortisol levels.
It does.
It improves sleep architecture. That is a physiological reality. Are we really saying that taking 5 minutes to be thankful is just a symptom of a tyrannical superego?
See, that is the tension at the heart of this entire discussion. The research is absolutely correct. Compliance lowers anxiety in the short term.
Because you did what you were supposed to do.
Exactly. When you check off those gratitude boxes, your brain delivers a microdose of dopamine. Your cortisol drops because you feel safe. You've successfully performed the self you were supposed to be today, so the superego backs off.
It stops yelling at you.
Right. But we have to look at the long-term psychological costs of how we achieve that chemical drop. What's fascinating here is that the journal actually functions as a confessional booth.
But we aren't confessing sins anymore.
No, we are confessing our insufficient virtue, and we are begging the internal tyrant for absolution by providing documented evidence of our growth.
I see what you mean. The drop in cortisol is real, but it's the relief of avoiding punishment rather than the peace of actual self-acceptance. When I write, I am grateful for my health. The underlying mechanism is often just a loyalty oath. It really means I promise not to complain about the fact that I am bone-tired, overwhelmed, and fundamentally exhausted by my life.
And that raises the stakes considerably. If the superego is demanding this polished, optimized perfection, what happens to all our raw, messy human desires?
The stuff that explicitly refuses to be put into a growth mindset.
Right. In psychoanalytic terms, we were talking about libido. And we need to expand our definition here beyond just sexuality.
Right, because people hear libido and immediately think sex.
Exactly. But libido is the raw, unrefined energy of desire. It's the desire for deep connection, for radical rest, for intense pleasure, and sometimes for destruction or chaos.
The messy stuff.
The very messy stuff. And the modern wellness economy acts as an industrial-scale operation for damming and redirecting that raw energy.
One of the articles we reviewed called this sublimation on steroids.
Yes.
How does that actually work mechanically? Like, what does that look like in practice?
Well, sublimation is the process of taking an unacceptable urge and redirecting it into a socially acceptable, productive activity. Think of it like a hydroelectric dam.
Okay, a dam.
The raw, rushing river of your anger or exhaustion is captured and forced through a turbine to generate electricity.
So it's converted into power.
Right. So that desperate, messy urge to just collapse into bed at 8 p.m. and ignore all your responsibilities, that gets laundered into prioritizing rest as strategic self-care.
Oh, wow.
The raw, aggressive rage you feel toward a boss who disrespects you, that gets redirected into a highly productive, high-intensity workout.
We are laundering our own desires.
Yes. The wellness industry demands that no desire be experienced directly. It must all be filtered, refined, and repackaged as growth.
And journaling gives us the perfect PR spin for that repression. I found a great example in the research about how repression leads to projection.
Oh, the projection aspect is fascinating.
Right. So someone writes in their success journal, "I am so grateful for my fiercely independent friends." But what they're actually repressing is the thought, "I am furious that they never check in on me or ask how I am."
Exactly. And the mechanics of projection dictate that what we repress, we inevitably project onto others, because the psyche has to put that energy somewhere.
It can't just vanish.
No, it can't.
Yeah.
And this perfectly explains why the modern wellness world is obsessed with identifying toxic people and energy vampires.
But hold on, some people genuinely are toxic. Like, some people really do drain your energy. We can't just say every bad interaction is a projection, right?
Absolutely. Genuinely difficult people exist. The diagnostic clue isn't that you encounter difficult people, it's the obsession with the label.
The hypervigilance.
Yes, it's the constant categorization of everyone around you into these boxes. When we relentlessly pursue self-sufficiency and optimization, we disown our own very normal human neediness.
Because being needy is unoptimized.
Right. We don't allow ourselves to be needy. So when we see natural neediness or messiness in someone else, it threatens our repressed state.
So the ego attacks it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ego defends itself by labeling them an energy vampire. We project our own disowned drama on others so we can maintain the fiction of our own perfect bounded wholeness.
So our psyche is literally operating like a corporate PR department spinning a scandal.
That is exactly what it's doing.
And here's where it gets really interesting. If we look at another defense mechanism from the notes, reaction formation, this PR analogy tracks perfectly.
Oh, reaction formation is a wild one.
Can you explain why the brain does this? Because it seems so counterintuitive. Why do we overperform the exact opposite of what we actually feel?
Reaction formation happens when the true emotion is perceived by the ego as a fundamental threat to your psychological survival or your identity.
Like it would destroy the image of who you think you are.
Exactly. So the brain literally rewires the conscious thought to its polar opposite to neutralize the threat.
Give me an example of that in the wild.
Okay, so say you feel seething, burning, professional jealousy over a colleague's promotion.
Naturally.
But admitting that makes you a bad, unoptimized person in the eyes of your superego. To protect you from that shame, your ego flips the script. You don't just act polite, you write a gushing, incredibly long LinkedIn post celebrating their promotion.
Oh my gosh, I've seen that exact post 100 times.
We all have.
Or like loud performative body positivity that's actually trying to shout down a daily terrifying internal verdict of inadequacy.
Precisely. The louder and more vehement the declaration, the more suspect the underlying feeling.
And we use rationalization to justify all of it. We say, I track my moods meticulously for self-awareness, but the unconscious mechanism at work is, I cannot tolerate the terrifying unpredictability of my own emotions, so I am trying to control them with a spreadsheet.
Yes.
We aren't actually gaining self-knowledge, we're just getting incredibly skilled at lying to ourselves using a much better vocabulary.
But maintaining that kind of spin requires an immense amount of caloric and psychological energy.
It sounds exhausting.
It is. If you are constantly filtering every single impulse, every raw feeling, through the superego's PR approval matrix, before you even let yourself feel it, you eventually end up living in two completely different time zones.
Yes, the two time zones concept from our research really struck me.
It's a great metaphor.
There is the time zone of your messy, contradictory, actual lived experience, and then there is the time zone of your coherent, Instagram-ready, narratable experience.
And trying to bridge the gap between those two time zones creates what clinicians are now calling healing fatigue.
Healing fatigue. Wow.
You do all the right things. You journal, you meditate, you set your boundaries, you drink your green juice, and yet you feel more completely drained than when you started.
Because you're managing a PR crisis 24/7.
Exactly. The gap between who you actually are and who you are archiving yourself to be requires constant, vigilant management.
Because the unrecorded moments don't just disappear. That irritation you swallowed at dinner to maintain the peace, the desires you denied because they weren't, aligned with your highest self. Right. They pool like groundwater underneath your carefully constructed life. They erode the foundation.
And the unconscious does not negotiate with spreadsheets.
No, it really does.
It does not care about your bullet points. If you refuse to give it a voice in your conscious life, it will communicate in symptoms.
The symptom is simply the return of the repressed.
Always. It's the sudden, inexplicable tears while watching a perfectly ordinary car commercial. It's the flash of irrational anger at your partner over a misplaced coffee mug. It's the obsessive compulsion to document a feeling on your phone rather than actually sitting there and feeling it.
Or it's that 3 a.m. anxiety that jolts you awake when the rest of the world is asleep and there is no audience to perform for.
That's the one. And one of the authors in our stack described this era as the medicalization of ambivalence.
The medicalization of ambivalence, explain that.
Well, we have an obsession with fixing every little symptom and pathologizing completely normal human friction.
Right, like everything has to be a diagnosis.
Exactly. If you have a normal amount of doubt about a relationship, suddenly it's an inner child wound.
Wow.
If you have healthy, totally justified aggression, it's labeled unprocessed trauma. We've turned the basic friction of being alive into a medical condition, and then we sell the interventions back to ourselves in beautifully packaged masterclasses.
It's a tragedy of optimization.
It really is.
Yeah.
If we look back at Freud's original talking cure, it was revolutionary, not because talking is inherently magical, but because the space was explicitly uncurated.
It wasn't about performing for the therapist.
No, it was designed to welcome the messy, the contradictory, the highly inappropriate without immediately jumping to a lesson learned.
So no silver linings required.
Exactly. Today, the psyche doesn't want to be fixed with metrics. It wants to be known. And you cannot know yourself if you're constantly skipping over the unbearable ambiguity of your feelings just to write a neat, triumphant epilogue for the day.
We are writing the epilogue without actually living the messy chapters of the story.
Yes.
So, if documenting our healing is actually the very obstacle preventing us from experiencing our lives, how do we break out of this gilded cage we've bought for ourselves?
Well, we have to face the ultimate unsettling truth about what we're actually running from.
Which is?
The shame you were trying to outrun with your perfectly curated success journal is not the shame of failure. Failure is easy to deal with today. You just reframe it as a stepping stone.
Right, data gathering.
Exactly. The real shame is the shame of desire itself.
The shame of desire, meaning what, exactly?
It is the deep, terrifying shame of wanting what you want, simply because you want it, without having a neat redemption arc or a lesson of growth attached to it.
Oh, wow.
Wanting to be lazy without calling it recovery, wanting to be angry without justifying it as boundary setting, just wanting.
Which means our nightly ritual isn't really about documenting our evolution at all. It's a hostage negotiation.
That is exactly what it is.
We are negotiating with our internal tyrant, offering up a list of gratitude and completed habits, just begging for temporary relief from its demands.
A peace offering to the superego, hoping it will lower its volume for another 24 hours. But as we've seen, a silenced psyche doesn't become peaceful, it becomes symptomatic.
So I want to leave you with a specific and frankly uncomfortable assignment based on everything we've unpacked from the research today.
This is a good one.
Tonight, when you are in bed, the room is dark, and you open your notes app or your journal, pay very close attention. Notice the very first sentence that forms in your mind. And then notice the sentence underneath it, the one you immediately self-edit. The one you preemptively censor before your thumbs even hit the keyboard because it isn't productive or positive.
Yeah, unoptimized thought.
Right. That deleted sentence. That is the entire architecture of your unconscious.
Wow.
What would happen if, just once, instead of writing, I am grateful for, you wrote, I am ashamed of, or I hate, and you simply let the truth sit in the room with you?
Just let it exist.
Breathing, without rushing to redeem it, without spinning into a lesson.
It would feel dangerous. It would offer absolutely no dopamine hit. But it might be the first time all day you actually tell the truth.
Because tomorrow at 6:03 a.m., when the blue light hits your face, you can check off all the boxes you want. You can feel that familiar wave of relief. But as we know, relief is not the same thing as peace.